Hey there, greetings everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this channel, a channel dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So today we're doing my Monday night's look back at a classic rock album series I do every Monday night, in which I choose an album that is 15 years or older and I consider it to be a classic, which means that it's either a high level 2, a 1, or a masterpiece album. Lots of 1s and 2s, but the album that we're going to do today is Led Zeppelin's In Through the Outdoor. This album came out August the 22nd, 1979, approximately 2 weeks before I started high school. It was recorded at Polar Studios in Stockholm, Sweden. About 42 minutes, probably closer to 43 minutes in length. On the Swan Song label, of course. I believe that's what this one is too. Yep. And was produced by none other than Jimmy Page himself. Okay, and I think most people know that Jimmy did almost all the production for all the albums. Appearing, of course, is the band members who have appeared on every Led Zeppelin album. John Bonham on drums and percussion, John Paul Jones on bass and keyboards, Jimmy Page on guitar and a gizmotron, and Robert Plant on vocals. Now I was curious about the gizmotron because I did not see anything for that on the album itself. Pretty sure I did not see anything. I found that online because I sometimes go to the online stuff because it's easier for me to find it without using my glasses. Yeah, it does not say anything about this instrument. So I looked this instrument up because I did not know anything about this. And what I found out is this is a instrument that was created by two members of 10cc, Kevin Godley and LOL Krem. They produced this instrument, which is basically, it just causes the guitar strings to vibrate, giving it a kind of a synthesizer sound to it. Yeah, I didn't know that, and apparently it was used before, obviously by them, but somewhere else, but I can't remember what band it was that used it, but Jimmy Page used it on this album, so just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So this album for me has a lot of connotation. So around the time that this album came out, I was starting high school. Some friends of mine had gotten together and we were going to, we actually bought tickets to see Led Zeppelin. I believe they were playing in Montreal, and we were prepared to go there. I'm not sure if it was going to be in November or it was in December. I can't remember when the concert was supposed to be, but anyways, as most people know, shortly after this album came out, the drummer John Bonham was found dead, choking to death on his own vomit, and the band never played the concerts, and they actually never performed as a group on a tour ever again. They did do a couple of one-offs. I believe the first one-off was in 1985 for the Live Aid, in which they had two drummers, one of them being Phil Collins, who wasn't really all that prepared for being the drummer of this particular concert. That didn't go over well. There's a bit of animosity between the several members of Led Zeppelin and Robert and Phil Collins after that. That's unfortunate because I think Phil is an outstanding drummer. The other one-off, I believe, came in 2007. I want to say it was 2007 when John Bonham's son, Jason Bonham, played with them, and they did a full concert. And actually, I have to say this, and I might take some hits for this, but it's okay. I'm okay with it. It's just my own perception. I think it is the best concert that I've ever seen Zeppelin play. I love Led Zeppelin. Their studio stuff is absolutely killer, but I never cared much for them live. I just think that they came up short on the short side live, and I know there's Zeppelin fans out there who think I'm crazy, but that's just the way I feel about them. When I was growing up, this band was considered by many people my age, around my age, to be the best rock band in history. And some people have argued with me that that's not the case anymore. And having looked around, they might be right. Some bands have really moved up. Like at one time, if you were to say Queen was as good as Led Zeppelin, people have laughed you off the street, but not so much anymore. But anyways, let's get on with this album, which I think is a great album. It was probably my favorite Zeppelin album for many years, but is faded over time, and it's probably down around 4th or 5th now. So you got In the Evening, really killer track, slow, methodical, really Led Zeppelin sounding in every way that you can think of. Southbound Sorez, it's okay. It's one of the few tracks that's not as memorable for me on this album. Fool in the Rain, of course, was a hit, radio hit. Very different sounding, kind of poppy-ish, but also very bluesy in its origin too. I think this is one of the better vocal songs on the album by Robert Plant as well. Then you got Hot Dog, which is kind of a in that time period, the what they call rockabilly was kind of a bigger thing at that time period. It was kind of a part of that new wave movement. Rockabilly was in there as well. This is kind of a rockabilly version done by Zeppelin. So to me, it sounds like they wanted to be part of that movement a bit, so they wrote this song for it. Some people don't like this song. I think it's kind of stupid, doesn't really fit their music at all. I actually like it. I think it's a great tune, very memorable. I love the guitar part in it, really catchy. Then you have Carouselambra, definitely one of the most proggy sounding Led Zeppelin songs. Definitely well within that Kashmir sound, if you like to say. It doesn't sound like Kashmir, but it's right there. It's one of the longer tracks on the album too. Probably my favorite track on this album altogether, overall. I think the keyboards are very memorable on this. A lot more keyboards on this album than a lot of previous Zeppelin albums as well. So yeah, this is a great track. All of My Love. At the time, we used to say, "Oh, it's a new Stairway to Heaven." Has some similarities to Stairway to Heaven, at least the opening part and the use of the keyboard and the kind of build up and Robert Plant's voice on it. But over time, I don't think it's really stood that test of time like Stairway to Heaven has, but still a really good track, and the keyboard solo on it is fantastic. I'm Gonna Crawl. This song would have been at home on Led Zeppelin 1 or maybe even on Led Zeppelin 2. It would have fit in either of those albums really well. It's kind of a bluesy drawl to it. It's got that real slow melodic kind of heaviness that Zeppelin is known for. It's a really good track. So overall, I find this album to be very good, but you could see on this album something that I'd not seen before. They were kind of a bit more commercial than they had been previously, and it sounded like they were moving in that direction. I often wonder what would have happened if John Bonham had lived. Would they have become like so many bands did in the 1980s, very commercial sounding? I can't even imagine Led Zeppelin that way, but we'll never know. I think they did the smart thing and just ended it like right there, so that their legacy will always be the legacy of one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rock band of all time. I like the fact that they did that. I think Rush took a page out of that book, no puns intended, and did the same thing. Maybe Rush would have done that thing anyways, but definitely they were huge Zeppelin fans and they respected Zeppelin for doing that, and I think that Rush will do the same thing. Anyways, excellent album. Originally, this had a paper, for those of you who maybe didn't see it in its initial form, had a kind of a paper bag wrapped around it. I'm not really sure why they had that on there either. Maybe it was just to try and catch catch some intrigue, but there's nothing really unprovoked on the album. So anyways, that's it for today's look back at a classic rock album featuring Led Zeppelin's In Through the Outdoor, one of the greatest rock bands. I've said that 3 times now. I'm probably going to take some hits. I'm okay. I love the album. I love the band. Glad to have done it today. Hope you had a good time listening to this. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. That's appreciated. Any comments about this album or Led Zeppelin or anything to do with the show today, leave that comments in the comment section, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. And next Monday night we will be back with another look back at another classic rock album. Have yourself a good one. Take care and goodbye.